All right, it's time to talk basketball. Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net. He is Steve Purciello, longtime educator, vice principal, high school basketball coach, athletic director, and also the host of the Celtic Chalk Talk. Celtic Chalk Talk is a pod dedicated to the latest news and opinions surrounding the Boston Celtics from a lifelong fan. Steve, that pod will drop new episodes every Monday, but this is the Shot Clock Pod, the best 24 minutes of NBA random thoughts online anywhere. This podcast is born out of the content in Steve's 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts articles, which he publishes weekly. Steve and I have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today we'll discuss his latest 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article, where he shares his random thoughts after week number 13 of the 2025-26 NBA season. Steve, are you ready? Do it. All right, clock is on. All right. We'll start with an age-old problem in the NBA and a possible solution. You have a fix to tanking.
I don't know if it's a fix, but it's an attempt to start looking at it. I've been doing a lot of reading about different ideas and different thoughts, and it just occurred to me that March 1st, if you only counted the records of teams until March 1st, because teams are still trying to win a game. So on March 1st, you took all the records, and that's your lottery order. Let them play the next month and a half, because that's when teams really tank. They get rid of players and all, which I'll get to the other piece. But so March 1st, you put your order for the lottery, and you naturally have the order, but it doesn't, the games after March 1st have nothing to do with that draft. The other thing you want to do, or you think about doing, is teams are buying out guys left and right after the trade deadline. Hold that back. You can't buy somebody out till March 1st. So now, if you, let's say, I'm using a crazy example, but let's say you're the Nets and you want to buy Porter out. Okay, but you might lose the rest of your games. Has nothing to do with the draft. So what you're doing is only up until March 1st. And a lot of teams are still somewhat trying. They haven't traded all their players. So it might give you a little bit better, and it might eliminate some of the tanking. And that would be good. And also, there's nothing worse than, let's say on March 20th, if a good team's playing an average team, and they've traded everybody, and it's not a game. It's not fun. So this might be able to take care of that and make those bad teams compete in the last month and a half.
Interesting. So I took a random team. This was a team that was guilty of tanking, allegedly, last season. That's the Utah Jazz. Between March and the end of the season, early April, that's 22 games. So 22 games, those 22 games are just not going to count for them.
And what do they do in those? What do they do in those 22 games? That's the key compared to their record during the regular, the rest of the season. Because again, here last year, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong. Didn't they hold Lauri Markkanen out a lot of games down the stretch? Well, he's your best player.
So the take was on last year. There's no doubt.
So now, and let's think about it now. If you're the Lakers, and I had to bring them up, but if you're the Lakers and you're fighting for 5th place, which would be a good year for the Lakers, but if you're fighting for 5th place, and let's say you're fighting with Golden State, and Golden State's got Utah, and they look at it, they've already played Utah. Yeah. He's got Markkanen sitting out, and even Keontae George, rather. He's sitting out. Geez, that's not right. That's crazy. So it eliminates some of that and helps it. And what's really crazy to me, and let's use Markkanen again. Markkanen's making big money, over $40 million, I would think. I'm not positive. You're going to sit him out? What a great job, huh? Get paid and not do anything? That's ridiculous to me. It's an idea, something to think about. Naturally, things can go further with that, and people can come up with other ideas. But the tanking, it just ruins a great game, and you don't want to ruin basketball.
Yeah. No, and it better have some idea than no idea. So let's take this information, send it over to Adam Silver, and we'll see where it lands. Markkanen, he's a little higher, right? $46 million this year. His contract ends 28, 29.
How many games did he play? How many games did he play last year? You have that?
No, I don't
No.
have it handy, but I'll have it before
Okay.
the end of the show. But let's move on to our next topic because again, the clock is ticking, and I think in the time we've been doing this, we've only beat the shot clock once, and that's 100 plus shows. Let's go to the East. You called out 4 teams with a legitimate shot to win the East. Right now, I want you to place them in order, most likely to win it second, third, fourth. You got the Cavs, the Pistons, the Knicks, and the Celtics with a caveat. You're expecting, right? Jason Tatum back at 80%. What's the
That's
order?
very difficult to do because I think in the East, more so than the West, the trade deadline will play a part in it. If I were to be a betting man, I wouldn't bet. But no, I would. It's in Tatum plays or he doesn't, and if he's healthy, good.
Yeah.
If he's at 80% of his ability. But if you push me out there, I probably would say, oh boy, Detroit. But that's not a very convincing or belief. But again, if they go out and get a shooter, then they become a favorite. Now, I don't know what's going on with the Knicks. I think they have the most talent in the division. I think they're legit. However, last night they got beat by Phoenix. They're struggling. Karl Anthony Towns has become probably the biggest enemy since Hitler in New York. It's really not a pretty thing. He threw up an air ball with about a minute or two left. The boos you can hear. So it's a bad situation there, but they're talented. And if they get Brunson back and so on, I look at them as decent. Cleveland just swept Philadelphia and they stole the last game by 1 point, in a close game, last shot game. But the point being, Cleveland, they were good last year, so you can't count them out. Maybe they're starting to figure it out. You go around and round with that. I guess Detroit because of the record being the best record, but I'm not sold. I guess talk to me after the trade deadline and I'll have an idea because that's really bad. What about you? What do you think with that?
You know what? I don't know, man. Again, I haven't had an opportunity to watch the East yet, so I don't know. But you're right. At the end of the line, at the end of the day, teams are going to change. They're going to add that one piece. There's lots of champions in the past who probably wouldn't have been champions except for that one piece that came in late in the season. I know the Lakers, when they got Klay Thompson's dad, that went a long way to getting them to the finals and to the championship. But right now, it's an unfair question, but I'm the one asking the question, so I'm going to ask. And I appreciate your answer. Let's take a look at the West, a little clearer in the West. So I'm going to ask you this, because we know who the top 2 teams are. Who do you think right now wins a 7-game series between the Spurs and
Oklahoma. Until the champ gets knocked out, you got to go with the champ. And I just think they will win. That's not what's good about this is that what looked like Oklahoma would dominate for the next 5-10 years. Now you see something coming where that's going to get interesting. And you can't sell the other teams out. Jordan, this Minnesota's legit. They can play. Yeah. So you got some other teams that can cause a problem if the right things happen. And so it's hard to pin somebody, but of course you got to go with the champions. How about you? What are you thinking on that?
Yeah, I agree with you. But the Spurs are just so good. I don't think it's an easy series for the Thunder. Again, they're 1-3 this year, right, against the Spurs. So they've already proven that they cannot beat the Spurs consistently. So I think that would be just an incredible series. But you're right. Don't sleep on the Wolves and don't sleep on the Nuggets, right? The Nuggets have been without Jokic. They're keeping their head above water. They're going to get Jokic back. And this is all world play. That changes everything in the West. Well, but those are the 4 teams, with the Wolves and the Nuggets being probably significant.
What's really makes me think they're not ready yet for San Antonio is the fact that they'll get beat randomly by an average team. And yeah, it happens to every team, but it's happening more to them than it should. And it makes you begin to think, are they a year away? Because good teams take care of business, especially now as we're getting into the second half of the season. They take care of business and move on. Although Oklahoma City last night was beaten by Miami. Things happen. But that's another piece to think about. I think it would be really interesting if if Denver was playing San Antonio in the playoffs. That would be an interesting series. the old experienced team against the upstart.
Yeah.
And that would be a fun series to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not close to the playoffs, but you can feel them coming. And there's still a little bit of excitement in the air. Let's take a pause here for a minute. Number one, Lauri Markkanen, 47 out of 82 last season, just over 50%. So there you go. And I also want to call out, if you've made it this far, thank you. Consider subscribing, joining, or not joining. There's not a join, but subscribe, comment. All that stuff means the world to us. Thank you. Thank you. Let's move on. I love when you do this because it expands my knowledge of the game. You introduce us to a player who's been outside of my radar. Tell me and tell us about Caleb Love.
He can shoot. And he's a decent defender, but he can shoot. He started, first of all, this guy was not undrafted. He went to North Carolina and Arizona, finished at Arizona, and Portland signed him to a two-way contract. Beginning of the year, he didn't play much. What do I have? He played, 20 minutes or so a game, averaged 10.9. In the last 13 games, now he's getting more time. He's scoring 16, over 16 in 28 minutes. And more importantly, he's shooting over 40% from three. So this guy who nobody had and nobody thought or drafted or thought anything of him, and it was a two-way player, has now become, and Portland's got some guards that can play a little bit, but he's now become a mainstay on the team, and he's going to get better naturally as the minutes get bigger and his shooting continues. What's really interesting, when I looked at that, like how far the NBA's come with the three-point shot. It used to be 37, 38 was good percent. Now over 40. And it just tells you how good these guys are at shooting a ball from a long distance. But Caleb Love is a player, and he's somebody that will get better in the future. Portland they found something.
And good for Portland. I know it's been a rough go for the Trailblazers the last couple of years, but good to see that they're doing what you talked about before, and that is player development over just grabbing whoever's available. Because I think Portland fits into the same category you and I talked about before with teams like the Celtics. It's harder to attract free agents to come to Portland and to come to Oklahoma City and to come to Boston. Those teams have got to develop within. That's what they've got to do.
The key here is you need to have, and usually a good draft pick, but you need a star or two. And then you go from there. And when I look at games, obviously every team's got usually two good players. But you need to win on a given night, two guys to go off. And by that, I mean over 20, 25, or 30. You have to have that. If you think about it, not many teams win when one guy gets 30 and the rest of the team's getting 10. So it's very important. Like for Portland, they needed to draft or grab some guys that can score and then work around those people. And they're doing that right now. And by the way, Jeremy Grant has been out a lot. Robert Williams has been out. Drew Holiday has been out. And they're still holding their head up, and they're right around the play-in.
Yeah.
And then that'll get better. Donovan Clingan will get better. They'll get better as time goes on. And there'll be something to look out for.
Let's take a look at another introduction. Now, this player I actually know. He's a West Coast. Caleb's West Coast too. But this guy, I know somebody who knows Peyton Watson, coincidentally. And I'm really excited to see him doing well. The difference between Peyton Watson and Caleb Love, though, Peyton Watson's doing it on a really good team. That's pretty impressive. Tell us about Peyton Watson.
4 years in, he's going to be a restricted free agent, and he's going to make some money. He's all of a sudden, in the last 14 games, and don't forget, Jokic has been hurt. So there's more room for him to play in those games. He's doing well. He's scoring over 18 a game, and now he's getting 35 minutes a game, over 35. That's legit look at. And they've been talking about him since he was a rookie, that he'd be a player. Finally, it's coming, and it's coming just in time because let's face it, for us, we're fans. But for players, they're thinking about contracts. And he's doing it at the right time when, and Denver, after they won the title, they didn't want to pay Bruce Brown and people like that. now they're going to have some decisions to make with this guy. And are they going to fork up some money? I'm going to guess if he continues like this, that's a $20 million player. And that's a nice contract for somebody to walk away with.
No doubt, it is easy for us to forget sometimes that this is a job for them. And we talked about that side of it. It's their job. They've got to do what's best for them. And Peyton Watson is having a really great uptick at the right time.
Well,
for Peyton
if
Watson.
if you think about it, when teams are put together, if you have guys on their first contract, their rookie contract, which is the first 4 years, if you have guys, they're hungry. A, they should be coachable. And because if people like them, it's going to help. And B, they should be playing as hard as possible and trying to develop as well as possible, because it's that next contract, that's everything. So you want to sprinkle your team with some younger guys who haven't made the money yet, that are hungry, with some stars. Peyton Watson fits that real well.
Yeah, it's GM 101, but it's a lot easier to talk about than it is to do.
Easier. Yeah.
Let's take 100%. And let's take a look at a team that maybe has got some challenges right now from a GM perspective, and that's the Timberwolves. This is a very good team, right? They're 27-16. We just talked about them in the mix. One of the 4 teams in the West. Their star just went off for 55 last night. This is a good team, good players, but they don't have a point guard, right? What's going on? How'd they get here? And is there a way out?
They drafted Rob Dillingham last year, and he really he's not been good. He makes poor decisions if you watch the games. But they've been using Michael Conley, who's probably, 37, 38-year-old man. He's not going to be playing a lot. He's still got something. He's playing, 18 minutes a game, 19 minutes. Also very interesting, as a point, they put Bones Highland as a point guard. Now, Bones, he is known as a shooter, but they're looking for somebody that can run the offense. Dillingham has tried. They've even used Dante DiVincenzo. Now, Dante DiVincenzo, if you watch the game, he's not a point guard. He's out there to get wide open threes and hurt you. So they're trying to find one. Now, the sad part is they've got enough talent with Gobert and Randall and Edwards to win the whole thing, but they have to get a point guard. And they're also up against it with money. So they're really in a bad spot. It's not a big marketplace. So they've got to figure something out to get that point guard, because if they can get a legit point guard, and by that a distributor, because you got enough offense with just Edwards and Randall and Nas Reed and so on, and DiVincenzo. So if you can get a distributor that can get them the ball, you might be in business. But you need one point guard, not 5. And because, again, familiarity makes you better. So they have to go out and get one. I don't know how they would go about doing it. But they need to. The big thing that hurt them was with Dillingham not really panning out, because I think he was a top 10, and that has really shut them back.
Yeah. And then again, that goes directly to what we talk about all the time, how hard it is, right? GM is easy. GM 101 is easy. Build from within, get your guys, grab the right free agent. Super easy on paper. But when you make a mistake or when a player doesn't pan out like this, you're stopped.
Well,
you're absolutely
I'll give
stopped.
you one better. Go back about 5 years ago with the Warriors, when they had the number 2 pick in the draft, and they had another number 1 pick, and they took James Wiseman. That was the chance for them to keep this going for a while, because instead of Wiseman, if they got a legit player in that draft, right now they'd be in great shape. And they got Kuminga later in the draft, and they're not using him. But the point being, go back. That tells you everything. That mistake with Wiseman really cost the Warriors any future.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure that historically there's tons of stories like that. Is John Morant a fit in Minnesota?
No.
He's
more of he's not a distributor. He's more of a guy that
True.
he wants to play pick and roll, and he wants to have the balls going, as they would say, downhill or going to the basket. But I'd have to think about it, but you need somebody who's more of a distributor, willing to give the ball up, and not when John Morant He's not big on giving ball up and those kind of things. So
No,
I don't think so.
Chris Paul.
Probably 5 years ago, it'd be great. But what
He played all
I
82
know that.
games last year. What do
And
you want from
you
him?
know what? And he was good at times. He would hit
Yeah.
that little.
And he's a distributor.
Well, yeah, but you're going to get what, 15 minutes? You're right. You're right. But don't forget, the
That's true.
Clippers still have him on the roster.
Oh, you have to
That's
trade
right.
for him.
That's right. And I don't know what second round pick maybe, but that's an interesting thought. But you still, if you're getting 20 minutes out of him, you still got to find 28 more.
Yeah. That's why that is a difficult job. Let's end with the last topic, and it's good news. His game has changed. He doesn't have the hops. He's not the rim protector he was. He doesn't pull down rebounds like he used to. But Joel Embiid is back.
Nice to see. It's really good. He's scoring a lot of points. Let's put it that way. The problem, or not the problem, if you watch the Sixer games, he's playing around the perimeter. He's not the rebounder at all. He's only got a little over 7 rebounds a game, which isn't much. That's the lowest in his career, I believe, or tied for the lowest. It tells you, somebody said he dunked a couple days ago and they were all surprised, which tells you,
Wow.
it tells you that the lift isn't there. He's still a very good shooter. He can still hit that 15-footer all night. And he's taking more threes, I believe, but it's a shame because he was a great player. And he's still good. He can score. Again, if you're Philadelphia, you got great guards. You need somebody that can be a rim protector. And I don't think he fits that anymore. So what do? Do you play Bona a little more to them Bona, using him as a 5, and I guess MB becomes a 4? That's crazy. So there's a lot of different things that you have to figure out, but you're losing that protection of the big guy. But he could still score. And they're paying him a lot of money to score.
This is going to cost us a shot clock violation, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I think it's interesting. Yes, first off, this is the lowest rebounding output for Joel Embiid ever in his career. He averaged more every year, even at the start, even his rookie year. But here's the shot clock. But we're going anyway. I think it's interesting. This is a 7-footer, a big dude, and he's only pulling down 6 rebounds, right? It tells me that rebounding is more than just being closest to the ball. It's about attitude. It's about geometry and physics and knowing where the ball's going to bounce. There's so much more to rebounding. And I know that Dennis Rodman famously said that he would study to see where the ball was going to go. But that's what I'm trying to get at here. It's not the tallest guy. It's the guy who wants it the most.
Yeah, go back to Bill Russell and how he figured that all out too. But
yeah,
I think Embiid is scared of being hurt again. I don't think he wants to get dirt. I think he wants to be healthy and play without jeopardizing his future. And I think, and you understand that because he's been hurt so often, and it's really a horrible thing to a great player. But that's my stance. When you watch them, I don't know if he's chasing the ball, but he's just not physically banging like he used to. That might be the best way to put it.
Yeah. But regardless, good to see him back in some semblance of who he was. It's good for Philly. It's certainly good for Joel Embiid. But that's it. You heard the shot clock go off. We talked through it because that's what we do. Another shot clock violation on our record. But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to read Steve's entire 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article. We will link it wherever you are watching or listening to this today. And remember to join us next week as we discuss more random thoughts at the conclusion of week number 14. We'll talk then. Thanks, Steve.